Hey guys, it's Mouth Breather here, Owen, and I'm here today to do the tier makers bands from 60s to present tier list. Now this is a list of bands compiled by this website, so apologies if your favorite band from basically the invention of music until now isn't on this list. It wasn't my creation. And again, I probably haven't heard all these bands, probably because a lot of them just aren't very good or just not really for me. So if I review it in a way that you aren't fond of, it's just my opinion. And I mean, we'll just leave it at that. So as always with these tier lists, it goes from S tier, which stands for super good, to F tier, which stands for F and bad tier. So we're going to start from the right-hand side here with The Who. So The Who has that song My Generation, which is very good, and he's got that nice sort of generation thing going on. They were ruckus, which I like about them. They drank a lot and partied and blew stuff up. But I got to say, considering all the music coming out of that era, I'm going to put The Who in perhaps it's between B and C, and I'm going to have to go with C because I'm a critical guy. The Stones, the Rolling Stones. Insanely enough, with the Rolling Stones, they have so many records, but only one good song, which obviously is Wild Horses. So because of that, they're going to have to go into D tier. Not very good. Depeche Mode. I don't think I've ever listened to a Depeche Mode song, but I do know that it's cool to like Depeche Mode, so I'm going to put them in A tier. Oh, it's kind of hard to see that. Okay, AC/DC. What's an ACD song? AC. Let it roll down the highway. I like how he screams. I'm going to put him in C tier. I think AC/DC is probably a C tier band. I like the reference to electricity. That's good. Arcade Fire. Now this is an interesting one. There's a Canadian bias in it for sure. I like the Suburbs, but I'm gonna have to put them in C tier as well. Not really. There's nothing super great about them, but good for them for doing what they do. Maybe a B tier if their next album's okay. They worked with David Bowie, but it wasn't very memorable. Pink Floyd. I smoked weed in high school. The Black Keys. I like their music, but you can't really like the Black Keys. It's not really appropriate because the music is, think about it. It's like white guys in the 60s stole black music. And then 30, 40 years later, the Black Keys take the music of the 60s. It's just a little redundant at this point. Bon Jovi, I'm going to put him in B tier. I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. It's Bon Jovi. The Eagles. First S tier goes to the Eagles, and this one, I know that some people might think I'm a sarcastic guy, but I am just a big fan of the Eagles. Coldplay, ooh, that's a tough one. S tier or A tier, and I can't really be sure. Oh, my heart says S tier, but I know that if I put them in S tier, and some of these other artists don't get in there, people are going to be mad. But no, Coldplay, for me, it's just my opinion. S tier musician. Def Leppard. I'm trying to think of a Def Leppard song. They are the guys with the drummer with one arm, and he's able to play drum still, so you got to give him at least B for that. That's awesome. Don't know any songs, but I like their story. The Doors. Now, usually I hate self-obsessed drunk losers, but Ray Manzarek's pretty dope, so I'm going to put them in, I guess, B tier. Fleetwood Mac. Never really liked Fleetwood Mac. I like The Chain. Dreams is good, but Dreams is a little overdone. We'll put Fleetwood Mac in D tier. Oh, actually, Dennis Wilson had a relationship with a member of Fleetwood Mac for a little bit, so that immediately moves him up to C tier. Fob. I don't know who that is. Fob. F tier. Foo Fighters. Some would argue Foo Fighters better than Nirvana. Me personally, I can't even be sarcastic about Foo Fighters, so I'm just gonna put them in. I'll put them in C tier because the best or whatever. Genesis. Now I have friends who like this band, and I'm not a huge fan, but I like the solo work of Phil Collins and the other guy. They're pretty good, so I'll put them in C tier. A lot of C tier bands. It's really racking up. This is, and I mean, I think you could agree with all these picks for C tier so far. Some of you are probably going to think Fleetwood Mac deserves a bit more, but this is just my opinion. Guns N' Roses, automatic F tier because the guys are in that band are just shitty. Gorillaz, in my youth, I would have put them in probably B or A tier. But I really only like Demon Days, and they haven't performed since. And also Damon Albarn, is it Damon or Damien, has some weird things to say about hip-hop and sampling, which is stupid. Green Day, automatic B tier. Imagine Dragons, automatic F tier. Iron Maiden, you gotta give them a B tier. Early metal stuff like that, you gotta give them what they deserve. Jefferson Airplane, I never understand how these guys are as iconic as they are because they only have one song. A little bit like maybe, well, I don't really know who else to compare them to, but holy shit, they've done very well being as famous as they are with one song. So, I mean, that almost deserves a B tier. It is a good song, too. I'm going to put them in B tier for now. Joy Division, kind of same with Depeche Mode. Not really for me, but if I put them in A tier, people will think I'm cool. Judas Priest. Now, I already gave Iron Maiden the pass for metal, so I'm going to slide them down into D tier. The Killers, now that's in either an A, well, it's not an S. Sam's Town is not my favorite record, so I'm going to give The Killers A tier, joining some great 80s acts. What is this one? What does that say? I'm just going to assume this says King Crimson and drop them into, that probably doesn't say King Crimson. Young. I'm going to drop them in A tier and just pretend this is King Crimson, so just keep that in mind. King Giz. Pretty good band. I'm going to rock them into, weird company in both B and C right now. I don't really know if I've been too selective. I'm going to rock them into B tier because they're just really hard workers. Kiss, either B or C. I do love Kiss. Because of Beth, I'm going to put them into B tier. Zeppelin, F tier. Awful musicians. I mean, the music's okay, but just horrible people. And just not interesting. I mean, yeah, it's good music, I guess, but it's very derivative. I don't know what this means. I'll put that. I guess they get an E. My Chemical Romance, really not for me, but, not that bad. D. Metallica, obvious B. Not the greatest, but as one of the big four, you got to give them a B. Motley Crue. I would have probably given Motley Crue a higher score if I hadn't seen The Dirt. That was a shit movie. So we're going to throw them down into E tier. Muse. Now, 12-year-old me, I actually tried to get them to play Muse at a middle school dance, and I'm so glad the DJ didn't listen because I would have been bullied very much so for doing it. But it was Nights of Sidonia, which is a hardcore song. I'm going to give them a nostalgic C, which would drop down to a D or E if I didn't like them so much as a child. New Order. Now, I don't really want to give them an A. I like them pretty a lot, but because of this weird theme I'm doing with not understanding like how important 80s music is, I kind of have to drop them into A tier. Notice too that you can't really see the name anymore. Nickelback, probably a C tier. Not, and this isn't to spite people who are idiots and think they're the worst band ever, but there are, some good early Nickelback songs. This is How You Remind Me is a good example. 9 Inch Nails. Now, they would be a C tier for me, but the sample of Old Town Road is a 9 Inch Nails sample, so that's a B tier. Nirvana, automatic A tier. S tier. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Oasis. If I put them in B tier, you'll think I'm an edgelord. Let's give them an A because, one of the most important bands of all time. Now, what the shit? Why do they do this? It's so hard to see. I'm just going to put this one in F tier. And I might even like that band, but it's just like you can't. This is a lesson for bands branding. You need to kind of make it legible. Pearl Jam. I didn't like Pearl Jam, and then I did Ecstasy at a festival one time and saw Eddie play, so I'll give him a D. Actually, no. Eddie did the soundtrack for Into the Wild, and he did a pretty good job, and he has a cameo in Portlandia, so that bumps him up to a C. Queen, I'll give him an A, of course. Radiohead, I'm going to have to give him a B. They're definitely way overhyped. Good music. If their fans were a little more chill, I would give them an A, but some people need to chill out. Rage, probably an A. It's Rage. Zach LaRocque is dope. Rush, Sort of suffers from a Radiohead thing. Their fans are not fun to deal with. C, Sabbath, A for sure. No problem there. Tame Impala, I mean, maybe rating them an A is too high, but they just, I mean, incredible work. So many years of great music. I don't like the new record, but I'm going to give them an A anyway. The 1975, definitely an F. Maybe an E because I'm being too hard on them and, take an E. The Beatles, A. Come on, let's be real here. Oh, interesting. It bumped itself all the way to first. I guess they know how much I like the Beatles. The Cure, definitely an A tier band, and this isn't because of the 80s thing. This is actually, I do like The Cure a lot. The Smiths, I would give them an A, but Morrissey is such a prick that you get a B. Tool, never really listened to Tool, but, good for them for doing what they do, so I'll give them a C. Toto definitely gets about an E. I don't know what this is. This 21 Pilots? No, that can't be what that is. If it is, though, it reminds me of 21 Pilots, so you get an F. U2, probably a hard B. They got some good stuff. Not great, but good stuff. And Vampire Weekend, great new record, so we'll put them up at an A. Is this Van Halen? Is that what that is? Did Van Halen already happen? If that's Van Halen, we'll give them an A. And then Yes, sort of a D. All right, so there you go, guys. That's my tier list for bands from 60s to present, based on the bands that this website decided are relevant enough to be on here. Sure, there's quite a few missing that I myself enjoy, but this is just the game we're playing here. Let me know what you guys think about my tier list in the comments, and feel free to make a video reply with your own. The Beatles, Eagles, Coldplay, Nirvana, and Black Sabbath went out today. Also, I feel like, Jefferson Airplane has a female singer, but this list kind of suffers from a pretty severe heteronormative complex, very masculine. So, and I just want to make that clear that I didn't make this list because it is kind of, it's pretty weirdly biased. Arcade Fire, I guess, has Regine in it. But anyway, that's beside the point, although it is a pretty important point to make. Anyway, that is my tier list, and leave a like and subscribe. Thanks so much. I'm Mouse Breather, and we'll see you on the next one.